Foolish me. I wrote this to give myself closure from my ex 27M, 25F. The year is 2025. We are at the start of February. It is 4 a.m. as I sit up in bed writing this. I am composing one of my most significant pieces. Kylie and I officially dated for 2.5 years. Our relationship was unhealthy. Things deteriorated to the point where I ultimately decided to end it. Around the middle of 2021, Kylie and I both became single. She was struggling and wanted us to get back together, but I declined. Nevertheless, she continued to live with me, and we engaged in activities that couples typically do. She would occasionally leave to spend time in her hometown, but would return to be with me. The reason I refused to re-enter a relationship with her was that I was exhausted from the infidelity and deception. We were a toxic couple that experienced every negative situation imaginable together. Often, the painful moments would bring me to tears. I could see the sadness I caused her and realized we could not keep doing this, which led me to end our relationship. Choosing to live together, despite not being together romantically, turned out to be just as chaotic as before. The painful moments continued. We continued to hurt one another and drifted further apart. Eventually, she moved out and returned to her hometown. However, after some time, we reconnected, and she began packing her clothes to stay with me for extended periods. If there is one thing that never changed, it was the physical intimacy we shared. We continued to sleep together and partake in activities like dining out. I would hold her at night as if we were back in the prime of our relationship. But clearly, we were not a couple at all. Our mobile phones became filled with messages from other people, and I started to create more and more memories with those I met. I had various flings and emotional ties with different women, all while Kylie continued to stay over. There was a time when she arrived at my house with hickeys on her neck. As one can imagine, these confusing dynamics we engaged in proved to be disastrous. One girl I was communicating with ended up sending Kylie messages and pictures of her and me together out of jealousy. In response, Kylie sent me a picture of herself in bed with another guy. All of this only served to further separate Kylie and me, and left me feeling utterly shattered inside. One significant breaking point for Kylie occurred while she was living with me. She came home from work unable to enter our locked home and asked me where I was. I was at a party, drunk and being intimate with another woman. Later that day, Kylie went through my phone while I was asleep and discovered everything along with more details. This incident, combined with the earlier pictures issue, pushed Kylie further away from me than ever before. Fast forward to the present day, where just 6 days ago, Kylie completed a 4-day stay with me. Currently, the most consecutive days we spend together are 5 or fewer. She typically arrives on a Friday and stays until Tuesday when I return to work. We have another visit planned for the coming week. The issue is that Kylie has not spoken to me for 5 days now. Admittedly, our last visit did not go well, as there were disagreements and heated arguments in the lead up to her arrival. While she was here, I was suffering from a hangover, and she was on her period. We did not have intercourse until the final night she spent at my home. Even then, it was far from magical. I write this in an effort to find closure for myself. It has hurt to know she has not communicated with me for 5 days. I could be in the hospital, critically ill or in some sort of accident, and she would not care to know. One question I keep pondering, to which I already know the answer, is, does she love me? I would not assert that Kylie loves me. In fact, at this moment, given her distance and silence, I wouldn't even say she likes me. I feel as if we have passed the point of her loving me. These days, all my efforts seem to be focused solely on hoping she still likes me somewhat. These realities cause fractures on the surface of my already wounded heart. I still love her. She is all I think about, quite literally. Although I have met different women and shared intimate moments with them, I remain fixated on Kylie. Communication with Kylie feels effortless. We joke around and hold each other like I have never done with anyone else. She occupies my everyday thoughts, and I simply cannot remove her from my mind. What truly pains me is recognizing that this is a one-sided affair. The Lord above knows I still love this woman, and I believe He knows she does not feel the same way about me. I felt a lump in my throat after writing that. If I know the answers to these questions, why do I sit here and suffer as if I do not? I find myself in my room on a Saturday night, writing hundreds of words about my ex in an attempt to understand things, while she is out there somewhere finding joy without me. She is likely drunk right now with her friends or in the arms of another man. I am probably the last thing on her mind. She affects me deeply. I can feel tears welling in my eyes as I finish this piece. I love someone who clearly does not care about me, someone who would not feel my absence. I feel abandoned by her, and I also experience hopelessness when thinking that another woman might take her place and love me as I need. In general, many women out there seem to be playing games and merely testing the waters with the men they interact with. I sit here with my shirt off, lying in bed in basketball shorts, inhaling the scent of a room that needs cleaning. My eyes and face have a dirty, sorrowful, and frankly unattractive look. I need to do laundry, get a haircut, clean out my car, and gather myself. It feels as if I am trapped in the gray world from the movie Halloween Town, and for some reason, I am somewhat content with it. Kylie, wherever you may be, I wish you happiness. Clearly, your boxes are being checked, and you feel no need to communicate with me. In your eyes, I probably do not even matter. For what it's worth, my heart belongs to you as it always has. You have me messed up over here in my feelings while you are somewhere finding happiness. To the world and to myself, I am just a fool who failed to recognize his cues, the signals, to stop being so emotionally invested in an ex who has moved on. Foolish me. Story 2. I, 21M, and my partner, 20F, are trying things again, but there's a lot to work through. We ended our relationship a few months ago in November. There were many reasons, and during the summer, we experienced a long-distance period for about 2 months, just 2 months into our dating. We then lived together for approximately a month before the fall semester at our university began. I initiated the breakup in early November because it seemed like she was gradually losing herself in our relationship. We both faced some mental health challenges, which is not surprising, and over the summer, particularly during the month we were apart, I certainly was not the easiest partner to be with. She has confided that my behavior during that time made her feel very judged and as if I didn't respect her viewpoints. I cannot disagree with this assessment. My behavior during that time was toxic. There was no infidelity or name-calling, but there were subtle issues that I fully understand can uproot someone's mental state. Asking for long phone calls almost every night, needing constant reassurance, and falling into an unbearable downward spiral. At that time, I was navigating some significant financial difficulties and family tensions. I never sought her help with these matters but unloaded the bulk of my lengthy complaints onto her. Additionally, I was working in a state on the opposite coast for the summer, in a city where I knew absolutely no one. I also wasn't very enthusiastic about my job or my team. However, it was good pay. When we reunited, I began to notice changes in her speech patterns and our outings. She seemed sad, and I felt dreadful. Repeatedly apologizing didn't help. She had encouraged me to pursue therapy and medication during the summer, so I felt I was in a clear enough mindset to end things decisively and let her go. It wasn't only her demeanor, we were also experiencing severe sexual incompatibilities at that time. She was interested in kink, and I was not yet comfortable with it. I ended the relationship over coffee and walked her back to her place. The following week, she informed me she wanted to go no contact. I had hoped we could remain friends, and just like that, she was gone. About a month later, I received a text from her requesting to meet up to talk. We grabbed coffee, and she shared everything about her month. It was a very sexual discussion about her exploration of kink and feeling liberated in her sexuality. I was happy for her but felt extremely uncomfortable. I told her I was open to hearing anything, but I guess that didn't occur to me until later. She mentioned she was casually seeing a few people and enjoying herself. I walked her home and, feeling cowardly, blocked her on everything. I felt guilty, but I also realized I couldn't handle that type of conversation with her. It hurt too deeply. A week later, I unblocked her and asked to meet up. I know it sounded indecisive, but I missed her, and the conversation in the coffee shop intensified all my feelings. I at least wanted to talk. It didn't go well. It ended badly with her walking away. I had blocked her, so I understood that, but I texted her all that night anyway. I returned to her apartment in the morning and practically begged to treat her better. I felt terrible. After 12 hours of discussion and a list of things we promised to work on to prevent previous issues from resurfacing, we agreed to try again. We were inseparable for 4 days during finals week. She had a mall outing with her friends that Saturday, and I was planning to go out with some of mine. She left my apartment and promised to see me afterward. I had planned to return home that Monday. 8 hours later, she ended our relationship via text. It was a very brief and concise message. Later, she sent an email with some additional fluff, but it felt insincere. Apparently, it was insincere, because 4 days later, she arrived at my apartment and effectively told me her friend had pressured her into breaking up. Her friend is not exactly neutral or impartial. Her relationship history will be excluded from this discussion, but we both acknowledged it wasn't a good idea to be influenced by the ultimatum her friend provided me or her. My partner wavered and succumbed. I received a text from her. She explained that everything she had written was essentially insincere to make it appear she had a legitimate reason. I took her back. Since then, we have endured a distressingly traumatic Christmas with my family, which I won't detail, followed by a very long Christmas break. Stress levels increased. This semester is incredibly demanding for both of us, filled with numerous hours of classes and other obligations. We have tried to work through past problems, but recently we compiled a new list of issues to address. Here are some key points. From her concerns regarding unequal codependency in emotions and mental health trust issues that need to be treated differently. From me, resentment over being ended with via text. Balancing conflicting needs in the relationship across multiple areas, sexual, relaxation, conflict, like her needing time apart while I seek quick resolutions managing all these issues during college, especially in the upcoming semesters, while attempting to find peace with family matters, financial stability, and recovery. Discomfort with the month of sexual activity during our dating. So I ask, is it reasonable to work through all of this? Commitment is incredibly important to me, as is honoring my word. However, the frequency of issues, combined with the weight of a relationship at this stage in life, makes it all very challenging to navigate. I am pursuing a demanding degree at a challenging institution. I am virtually isolated from my family and currently undergoing substantial soul searching. This is tough, but I want to believe it's worth it. I regret treating her poorly when we initially broke up. I do not want to hurt her again. Additionally, we did eventually reconnect on the topic of sexual compatibility. My journey with kink is quite different from hers, though. I will note that the disconnect has had tangible repercussions in our sex life, which I currently find unsatisfactory. I believe she is satisfied. Story 3. Fiancé. M28 doesn't want MOH F27 at our wedding. My fiancé, male, 28, and my maid of honor, female, 27, have recently gotten into a dreadful argument and I need advice. I have known my maid of honor for nearly my entire life. I have been with my fiancé for 7 years. Like any relationship, we have some issues we each need to address, but my fiancé and I have always managed to resolve our differences. I love him deeply. He is a wonderful partner and will one day be a great father, which is why we are getting married soon. My maid of honor has some strong feelings about him, which I was unaware of until recently. I genuinely believed her sentiments were more along the lines of, "He's fine. I will continue to support you on this journey." On the night of my birthday, I hosted family and friends for dinner, and afterward, we went to the casino for drinks, gambling, and live entertainment. As everyone was leaving our home to head to the casino, I struggled to get some of our family and friends out of the house so that I could lock up. I was patiently standing at our front door, loudly requesting that people leave so we could go to the casino. My fiancé easily becomes overwhelmed and sometimes struggles to handle stress well. He approached me at the door and loudly exclaimed, "Everyone out of the house, let's go." If you know my fiancé, you would understand he meant no harm by it, nor did he direct it at anyone specifically, but my maid of honor took it personally. I spoke to my fiancé on our way to the casino and told him that it was inappropriate. He could have omitted the profanity, and it would not have been an issue. He apologized. I noticed my maid of honor was upset when we arrived at the casino, so to prevent this from ruining my night, I approached her early in the evening to find out what was wrong. She believes my fiancé is disrespectful, rude, and unworthy of me, claiming his words were entirely uncalled for. I suggested she should express her feelings to him and discuss it now before the evening progressed further. She waited 2.5 hours until we were all intoxicated to confront him. My fiancé and maid of honor have never been friends and do not know each other well. They are vastly different individuals with opposing social circles and interests. Her expectations of who I should be with do not align with who he is, and despite my efforts to explain the kind of person he is, her mind does not seem to change. I have praised him to her and have also shared my frustrations with her about him, and I think she is fixated on those venting sessions. I informed her that he is the person I have chosen to spend my life with, and she should be happy for me, regardless of her own beliefs. My family and other friends have nothing negative to say about my fiancé. They are genuinely pleased for us. When my maid of honor confronted him, she claimed he chuckled when she expressed her feelings, and that he offered an insincere apology. Then she asked if he would have made that remark if his mother had been present, prompting him to become upset and tell her to not bring up his mother, after which he walked away. She called him a piece of garbage, stated he did not deserve to be with me, and that she could not participate in a wedding where she does not support the groom. I was completely unaware during this confrontation. My fiancé did not drink excessively because it was my birthday, and he wanted to ensure we arrived home safely. We used a ride-sharing service. I found out about everything the next day from friends, family, and my fiancé about how cruel she had been, and how she was telling everyone that she would not be part of the wedding because she views him as a terrible person. That night, she sent me a message saying we needed time apart from our friendship and that it might be best if she withdrew from the wedding. I reacted strongly against her the following morning. I composed a harsh message that I won't go into detail about. My maid of honor and I have discussed that night and have reconciled. However, my fiancé insists that she not be part of the wedding at all, even if she apologizes. He is framing it as a choice between sides rather than choosing me. He never held any negative feelings toward her until that night. I asked them both to have a discussion so we could move past this, but he refuses. He does not want her there, which breaks my heart. He claims she clearly does not like him and questioned how it is fair for either of us to have someone in our bridal party who does not support our marriage. I recognize what she did was wrong, and while she did not intend to imply she wanted out of the wedding, her feelings towards my fiancé remain harsh. I understand it stems from the fact that they do not know or understand one another, as they are different individuals. Neither has made a real effort to get to know the other, but that no longer matters. We have been together for 7 years, and my maid of honor and I have been friends since elementary school. She is my friend, not his. He is my fiancé, not hers. She is open to discussing and resolving the situation, and she visibly became upset when I told her he does not want her in the wedding. I still want her in it, and I acknowledge she was in the wrong. While this is his wedding too, I believe they should set aside their differences for my sake so we can move on, perhaps with her being a bridesmaid instead of the maid of honor. I have attempted to talk to him several times, but it never ends well. I am uncertain about what else to do. I will feel resentment towards him if she is excluded. She is like a sister to me. He continually references that if the roles were reversed, his friend would be out of the wedding without question. However, I am not that type of person. If the situation were reversed, I would want to communicate and find common ground. I am a forgiving individual because it brings me peace. I do not hold grudges, and I would hope my fiancé could find it in his heart to forgive his friend, or at least allow us the chance to reconcile before completely severing ties with her. I feel like I am being forced to choose a side, which is unjust. It feels as though control over my maid of honor's position has been completely taken from me, as my fiancé now has a say in it. Should I keep my maid of honor in the wedding? Story 4. I, 24M, got called a weirdo for dating my girlfriend, 18F. Thoughts? I recently posted something entirely unrelated about being inconsiderate while taking longer to buy tampons for my girlfriend, so she wouldn't be seen by friends. In that post, I mentioned that my girlfriend is 19 and was 18 when I met her. I'm nearly 25, but was 24 when we started dating. A girl in the comments began criticizing me for that. I decided to ask since I feel like I'm unloading my trauma, as I'm not comfortable discussing my feelings in person. For some background, I met my girlfriend through a friend who resides in her university dormitory. I was training near her university, and living in my wrestling gym for mixed martial arts fights. I come from abroad, and they were really looking for some heavyweights, so they brought me and several other guys in. My life revolves around training, working, and fighting. During a large gathering, she made some advances and approached me to talk. She was absolutely stunning, so beautiful that it made me appreciate life even more. I was hesitant, however. I'm not unattractive and have some redeeming qualities. But being from the Caucasus, I wondered if she would align with my morals, beliefs, and lifestyle. I generally prefer to let people be and follow a live and let live philosophy, which is not popular in the Caucasus. So I usually keep quiet, as my father advises for my own safety. I am not ethnically Caucasian, so I'm not particularly liked there. But back to my main point, she was so attractive that I felt I had to take a chance. This girl shares my interests, has the same music taste, and is genuinely religious, living by her beliefs. We began dating, and I was incredibly broke. Both of my younger brothers are still in college, draining my finances. I send everything I earn to them, leaving me worried about how I'd afford our dates. This wonderful girl is aware of my situation and proposes inexpensive outings like beach dates and other activities that won't deplete my wallet. She comes from a wealthy family and never makes me feel inferior by offering to pay for things. I literally live in a bunk bed with other guys, which highlights my financial struggles. Fortunately, I found a job as a receptionist at a gym, allowing us to go on more dates since I had some income. Anyway, she is my first ever girlfriend since I've never had the time for one. I truly value her, but she does so much more for me. Before my brothers graduated and started sending me some money, I could only afford the cheapest, toughest bison meat for protein. She constantly brought me high-quality chicken or beef and cooked wonderful meals for me, even though I told her it wasn't necessary. She often brings me food she makes in her dorm, which is nearby. She has keys to my dorm, enabling her to visit or pick up items she has forgotten. She helps me with laundry and tidying up my room. I attempt to reciprocate, but she does so much more for me that I feel like I can't compete. I have told her several times not to do these things for me and that I should take care of her, but she insists that love isn't about keeping score. I met her family, and they are incredible people. I really connect with her father and brothers, which reminds me of home, even though I haven't been there in 6 years. I missed all but one of my siblings' high school graduations. I left when my younger brother was 16. He had such a baby face and stood about 5'8". I recently saw a picture of him, and he is now around 6'2", or 6'3", with a mustache, which made me emotional. My youngest brother was 12 when I left. They sent me a photo of his first day at college, where he is studying civil engineering, something he has wanted to pursue since childhood. When I left, he was shorter than my chest and so skinny. He's now 6'4", big and strong. He recently called, and his voice was deep. He is now the same age I was when I left, discussing school with enthusiasm. I was quietly crying on the other end of the phone, realizing how much I've missed. One of my sisters got married and had a child. I can't leave my gym because I train for free and live cheaply on a fighter's scholarship, and my family needs financial support, so vacation time is limited. But my girlfriend has welcomed me into her family to help ease the heartache. She does so much for me that I feel embarrassed writing about the tampon incident, but I won't repeat that, and we made peace. She does so many wonderful things, and I genuinely try to keep up, but she is simply a better person than I am, so I often fall short. I never cry in front of anyone, but I have a feeling she senses when I am upset and always manages to lift my spirits. I cut my weight from 240 pounds to 205, losing around 35 pounds. It's an exhausting process, and I am essentially useless for 2 weeks leading up to a fight. My girlfriend takes care of everything as if I am a child. I tell her not to, but I'm too weak to prevent it. After weighing in and fighting, I feel drained. My immune system becomes weak from the weight cut, and my body focuses on repairing injuries, causing me to get sick frequently after fights. So I spend my time in my room wallowing in self-pity and pain, dreading the next weight cut and questioning why I continue putting myself through this. My girlfriend comes into my room, lays down with me, and risks catching something herself, cooking my favorite meals since the weight cutting is over. She does this while studying to become a physical therapist. I genuinely don't understand the love women have for men. A girl commented that our age gap was unusual and called me a weirdo. claiming my girlfriend lacks life experience and that I am basically manipulating her due to my age. I countered that my girlfriend is wealthier and more educated than I am, but that didn't seem to matter. Numerous people labeled me a red flag and weirdo, but my post wasn't about that. They accused me of lusting after 18-year-olds, despite both of us awaiting marriage and being virgins, and that she was the one who initiated things. But whatever. They still expressed their opinions, so I wanted yours as well. By the way, I live abroad if that isn't clear. Story 5. Boyfriend, M24, ignoring me and pushing me away but says it's not me. F22. So my boyfriend and I have been dating for 1 month. He asked me to be his girlfriend on our first date. I agreed because we really connected. I liked him for who he is from the moment I laid eyes on him. The initial few weeks were wonderful. He introduced me to his family, and I genuinely like them. They truly are very nice, and we get along well. Everything seemed fantastic. A week and a half ago, he became unwell. He is a bodybuilder and had gained weight as planned, but he lost 10 pounds in 1 week. He is extremely upset about this. I continually checked on him, ensuring he was doing all right. Now that he is feeling better, he does not respond to my messages with much enthusiasm. I am having difficulty engaging him in a real conversation. I will text him at 7 p.m., and he won't respond for the rest of the night and into the next morning, yet I know he is awake and active. He hardly offers me anything to work with over text. He mentioned he couldn't believe he was dating someone like me at first. He said it felt surreal. I expressed similar sentiments and that he is valuable and truly matters to me. He struggles with low confidence. His longest relationship lasted 3 months, while mine lasted 3 years. I thought this was important to mention before continuing. I have tried to call him within the last week, not every day or repeatedly, but occasionally. He now always sends my calls to voicemail or ends our conversations sooner than necessary. He takes hours to respond to me now. I asked him what was wrong in person because he told me he feels broken and has too many thoughts racing through his mind. I kept checking in with him throughout the day since we were hanging out when he opened up, but he refused to elaborate all day long. I let him know that I noticed him distancing himself. When I got home, I sent him a heartfelt message suggesting it might be easier for him to express himself via text, and that I am here to listen. He completely ignored that message and did not text me good morning the next day until I did. 3 days later, after minimal messaging and my unsuccessful attempts to get him to meet up for coffee, he sent me a paragraph explaining, "You asked me what's wrong. It's hard to describe, but I compare myself to people at my job and they are ahead of me. I lost 10 pounds that took me forever to gain, and I feel like a failure. As far as the relationship goes, I'm not sure what I am doing and I don't want to hurt you." I tried calling him, but he sent it to voicemail. He was on the phone with his uncle. He didn't reply for an hour or return my call. Then he simply said, "I'm okay," and ignored me again. I felt completely shut out. I believed we really needed to discuss this face to face. I deserve to understand what is happening because the past week and a half have been incredibly challenging for me. I could not tolerate his lack of communication any longer after everything that had happened. He was at the gym. I saw his location, as he lives 40 minutes away from me. So I decided to buy a drink he really likes and surprise him outside, letting him know he can talk to me. I wanted to know what was going on in more detail and share my feelings with him in person. He said he was talking to his uncle, and then had a conversation with his friend for an hour beforehand, which made me feel as though he had no intention of returning my call or responding to my text, opting instead to call his friend. This has been a recurring theme this past week. Anyway, we sat in my car and talked for a while. He stated that his withdrawal has nothing to do with me, but rather everything on his end. I tried to offer him words of reassurance, as I had been doing throughout. I have never changed how I interacted with him, even when he was behaving differently. I was doing everything I could. However, he did not even kiss me goodbye before leaving after our discussion. Then, he removed our ability to see each other's locations. I do not feel like I overstepped any boundaries, as he stated he is dating to marry, and I am too, and if I care about someone, I will do everything to make them feel wanted and heard. I would have felt honored if someone drove all that way just to hear me vent, but he clearly may have perceived it differently. I just don't understand it. I am perplexed by this sudden change after things were going so well at the beginning. My question is, how do I cultivate patience? How do I support him? I am uncertain if this is something I should walk away from. I can hardly bear to consider that. I am just exhausted from trying to connect with him while receiving little in return, which is unfortunate since he and I truly clicked, and he clearly liked me to the extent that he asked me to be his girlfriend on our first date. Summary: my boyfriend asked me out on our first date and shared his location. I agreed and shared mine. The first few weeks were incredible. I adore him for who he is, and he mentioned it is hard to believe he is dating someone like me. He introduced me to his family, who also liked me. He became ill and lost 10 pounds in a week. He's a bodybuilder and is upset about losing weight. He stopped communicating with me significantly. He does not return calls and subtly mentions he feels depressed, but refuses to open up. After a week of limited connection, I drove 40 minutes to surprise him with his favorite drink and discuss things. Afterwards, he removed our location sharing. He claims I did nothing wrong and that it is his struggle with self-acceptance. How do I support him? How do I make him feel valued? I am unsure. Apologies for the lengthy message.